David Haye still has ambition. He still wants that fight against Anthony Joshua. I'm going to quote David Haye directly. He says, I will hold the next fight in December. We will announce everything in the next 2 weeks, and the fight itself will be held in England. Of course, I want a fight against Joshua in 2018. So those are the words of the Haymaker. Who's he going to fight later on this year? That's the big question. Some say it's going to be the Tony Bellew rematch. Some say it's going to be somebody else. We'll find out in due course. David Haye said there's actually an announcement coming today. So hold tight for that one. But people are looking at David Haye. He's 37 soon, if he's not 37 already. I know his birthday's in September sometime, I believe. Is it September or October? I believe. So he's nearly 37. People are looking at him like he's going to turn into another former champion who went on too long. One thing I will say is David Haye, he has had a lot of injuries. He's got a lot of wear and tear on his body. But in terms of punishment that he's taken, punches to the head, he's taken very few in his career. He's been quite elusive. And the fact that he hasn't taken too many head punches is obviously a good thing. He also hasn't had that many fights. I can't, off the top of my head, remember exactly how many fights he's had, but considering how long he's been pro and how old he is, he ain't had many fights. I think he's had maybe, in the low 30s in terms of the fights he's had. He ain't had that many fights. And the footage I've seen of him recently in training, he looks to me as though he's trimmed down some of that muscle, because he was very heavily muscled and just looking kind of weird actually in the Tony Bellew fight and his two comeback fights before that. He didn't look like the old, fast, sharp, athletic Haymaker. He looked, I don't know, too bulky, bloated. Even though he was muscly, he just looked bloated, man. He didn't look like the old, sharp, athletic Haymaker in terms of the way his body was configured and structured, The videos I've been seeing lately, Haye looks a bit more like his old self. He don't look quite as bulky as he did against Bellew. So I'll be interested to see what kind of weight he comes in at in his comeback fight. Whether he'll be in the teens rather than in the 20s. Against Bellew, who was 220 something. I'd like to see him back down in the teens, 214, 215, something like that. So I guess we'll see. If David Haye comes back in December, defeats whoever he is going to, fight, and looks good in doing so, it won't take much to get the British public believing in him again. David Haye, and I was talking to some people online about this yesterday, David Haye is one of the best managed British fighters I've ever seen. And the amazing thing about it is, David Haye has done it pretty much by himself. I mean, he was with Adam Booth, but he hasn't been relying on a major promoter to guide his career since he left Frank Maloney. I think he left Frank Maloney, when was it now? I think it was after the Thomas Bonin fight, which was his first fight at heavyweight, but then he went back down to cruiserweight to fight Enzo Macronelli. I don't think Maloney was involved in that fight. So since then, Haye has been pretty much independent. He has worked with major promoters for one-off fights, but he hasn't signed any long-term deal with any major promoter. And obviously, after he beat Macronelli, he started putting on his own shows. He fought Monty Barrett. I believe that Dave Caldwell and Caldwell Boxing were the official promoters for that show, but I think, my understanding of it is that David Haye and Adam Booth hadn't got their promoter's license yet, so Dave Caldwell was just fronting up the promotion, but it was Haye's money that paid for it, basically. That's my understanding of it. I could be wrong there, but that's my understanding. Kind of like Al Heyman when he works with these small promoters. They're not the ones really promoting the show, these small promoters. They're just a front for Al Heyman because he's not officially a promoter. So that's what I believe the Monty Barrett fight was. But then after that, when David Haye fought, several other people, um, they were haymaker shows. When he fought Woody Harrison, when he fought John Ruiz, these were haymaker shows. So he's been putting on his own shows for a long time. And he obviously put on his own shows when he fought Demori and Jurjai and all that kind of stuff. From a business point of view, what he's done, I mean, the fact that he fought Audley Harrison on Sky Box Office pay-per-view, and that was his own show, a haymaker show. That wasn't an Eddie Hearn show. Eddie Hearn was just there representing Audley Harrison, but it wasn't an Eddie Hearn show. The fact that Haye was doing direct deals with broadcasters like Satanta and Sky, and now with Dave, and managing to get himself into positions to challenge for world titles and get into big fights without really, quote unquote, earning it, that is a testament to how smart a businessman David Haye is and how well managed he's been in his career. The fact he's been able to maneuver himself into these positions to get big fights so easily, it seems, is incredible. Now, a lot of fans dislike David Haye for conning the public, and I definitely understand that. I've been one of David Haye's biggest critics over the years in terms of the way he's treated the public, the sheer contempt he has for the public. But just from a business point of view, as I say, what David Haye has done in his career is borderline genius. And if he's able to beat whoever he fights in December, and especially if it's anybody decent, like if it's Bellew or whatever, if he's able to beat them and beat them convincingly, he's going to have a lot of the British public believing in him again. And here's the thing with David Haye. A lot of the British public don't like him because they see him as a salesman and a con man and all that kind of stuff. But as much as they don't like him, they believe in his ability. Like when he's firing on all cylinders and when he's, healthy and whatnot, whether they like him or not, they respect his ability. That's the one thing I've noticed. It's like, I don't like him, but when he was at his best, he was actually good. Sometimes with boxing fans, when they don't like somebody, a lot of the time this is the case, when they don't like a particular fighter, they won't even acknowledge that the fighter is any good. But with David Haye, it's not like that. With David Haye, it's like, they don't like him, but they still say, you know what, he was good though. I'm telling you, if he beats whoever he fights in December, there's going to be a lot of British boxing fans back on the David Haye bandwagon believing in him again. So, I don't know. Let me know what you feel about this in the comment section below, people. It's Hatman, I'm out.